Hello everyone, welcome to this channel. I am Felix Blaze. In this video, I'm going to walk you through Photoshop 23. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe because I'm going to give you a lot on the basis of Photoshop. Whatever you need to know as a beginner in Photoshop, this is the time for you to learn how to use awesome Photoshop software. So without much ado, let's do something. When you open Photoshop, this is the interface you are going to use, okay? So you just have to click on this, the new file, to create a new document. So I'll wait for the dialog. When the dialog comes, you have this place to set the name of your document. So I can delete this and call this WhatsApp DP. Then I will set my width to 1000 by 1000, the height to be 1000. I'm using the square dimension because if you want your design fit any social media DP, you just have to use a square dimension. Okay, so I'll work in pixels as well, and then the orientation, because it's a square dimension, you can choose any of them. For resolution, if you are doing printing works, you go for 300, but if you're doing digital work, you go for 72 resolution. Then I'll maintain the background as white, RGB color with 8-bit. Then I'll click on create. When I click on create, I'm going to see this kind of document, and this is the whole interface of Photoshop. Okay, so from here, what I'm going to do right now is to import a picture. So I'm going to import this particular man here. So if you want to import a picture, you just drag and drop to the canvas. Then you are free to go. So this is what you have. What we are going to do right now is what we call the transformation. So as you can see, we have the edges right here. This controls, okay, is used for transforming the image. So I will just click and drag this one up like this, down like this. Then you could see that everything has fit to the canvas. That is the transformation aspect of this one. And as you can see, we have this whole area here. These areas are called panels, okay? We have the panels here. So we have the color panel, we have the swatches panel, we have the gradient, and then pattern. You can have the adjustment here. But sometimes it happens that you will not see your panel here. So for you to get your panel, you just have to go to Windows, then you check any of this panel here. So I can go for the history panel, this, and I will see this. So let's drag this down, and you see I can go back with the history. When I click on this, it will send me back to the time I created this document. If I click on this, it will go to the time I placed this document. So that is that for undo and redo. So if you want to undo, you can also come here, and the shortcut is Control plus Z for undo state, and then Control Alt Z for last state. So that is how you can do that in Photoshop. Now when you come to the panel here, as I said, we have layers. Okay, whenever you are working in Photoshop, whatever you do are grouped in layers. So you can just pick up the layers and drag it like this. So you can move the parts in Photoshop. They are not stuck, they can be floating on your workspace. So I can just expand this. So this is the layer 1 and this is the layer 2. So the layers are grouped like layers of rock. Okay, so this one is the bottom one, this one is the uppermost one. So if you want to hide something, you just click on this eye and that one will be gone. If I click on this one, it means you are going to have this checkbox background. And what does this checkbox background means? It means we are working on transparent document. But if you turn everything on, you see we have the first layer, the white, and then the uppermost layer, we have this man there. So that is the layers for you. We will come back again and talk about layers. But before then, let's look at Photoshop tools. So we are looking at the most common tools in Photoshop. The first tool I'll talk about here is the Move tool. I have made video on move tool into detail. So if you want to watch that, you can click on the top there and watch the detailed explanation of the move tool. But with this, what you do with the move tool is it allows you to move an object from one point to another, just like that. But there is a full video on that which explain more about the move tool. So click on the top there and watch it. So from here, the next tool we will look at is the selection tool. The selection tool, there's a video too on that. Okay, more explanation to that. You can click on the top there and watch the selection tool. But let me tell you the basic function of the selection tool. This is a selection tool. This tool is a selection tool. Now, when you look at the rectangular marquee tool, you can just select any portion. So I can select this part of the image. Okay, if I want to add selection, I'll just click on this one to add. If I want to subtract, I'll click on this. So if I click on the subtract, I can subtract this part. If I click on the add, I can add this part of the image. Okay, then from here you can just press on Ctrl C for copy. Okay, then you can press Ctrl V for paste. And now look at something. So you see the part that I cut is right here, and this is our original image. Very easy to do. So with the freehand tool, it also goes the same way. This is the freehand tool, the lasso tool or the freehand tool. Okay, magnetic lasso tool, polygonal lasso tool, they all perform the same functions. Okay, but quite different. So you need to watch explanation on that. I've made a full video on the differences between the lasso, polygonal, and then magnetic. But with the lasso, this is what it does. It is a freehand, so I can just select a portion of the image right here, just like that, the head. Then I'll press on Control J. Whenever you press Control J, what it's going to do is it's going to cut it's going to make a copy. Okay, it's not going to cut exactly, it's going to make a copy of the selection. So Control J, you're going to see that it has made a copy of my selection, and that is where I selected. So that is Control J for you. Okay, so if you want to delete this particular image on the layers, all you need to do is just drag this and place it on this recycle bin, and it will be deleted. If you don't want it that way, you can just press on delete on the keyboard and everything will be vanished. So I'll just need to press delete and it is gone. Very simple like that. Now, the next tool you look at is this particular tool. It is called Magic Wand tool, quick selection tool, and object selection tool. I'm not going to tackle the object selection and the quick wand tool. I've made a video on that as well. So you can also click on the top there and watch it. It looks like I've taken the tools and I've explained them into detail so you can watch them. But with the basics, you just need to know the functions they perform. Okay, so with the magic wand tool, this is what it does. It's going to sample the color and then select it. So when I click on this, based on the tolerance that I selected, the tolerance is 20, and you could see it has selected the whole image. I don't want it, so I will deselect everything. Then I'll reduce my tolerance to something like 5. Then I'm going to sample this area and look at it has sampled everything, because what it does here is that you can see this color on the shirt matches the same way like the background. So the best way to remove the background of this particular image is to use select subjects. Now this is the selection that we have, and you can see it has selected the image for us when you use the select subject right here, but you see it couldn't select this portion of the laptop. So let's go to add and add that part of the selection. Okay, and we have added it to our selection, and you can press on this mask, or you can just simply press on kill, letter kill, to view the selection part. So this is the selection part and this area is not selected. Okay, this will bring us to what we call the brush tool. So the brush tool is right here. Okay, and when you see the brush tool, this is the size of the brush tool. Now you can just right click on this to adjust the size, and then you can reduce the size here. So I can use this to reduce the size. Okay, now from here we can create a mask for what we did. So in Photoshop to create a mask, so if you want to create a mask, you can just click on this side and you see we have removed the background and left with the image alone. Okay, so from here, as you can see, when you add the layer mask, you are going to see something like this, and you can see we have the black portion and then the white portion from this mask. The white portion is telling us that that place is visible, and then the black portion is telling us that it is not visible. So if you want to brush, let's reduce the size on. If you want to reduce the size of your brush, you can just press on the brackets open. Okay, the square bracket open to do that, to reduce the size, and you can press square bracket close to increase the size. So when I brush on this area, it's going to turn on the hidden, because this one is white. Okay, and I want to make it visible. The white says make it visible, the black says hide it. So if I press on back, if you want to toggle between the black and white, X, the letter X to do that. And when I brush over this area, you see everything is going. Note one thing about the brush tool is that you don't need to brush this particular image. Okay, if I do that, look at what is going to happen. It's not going to work because this is not a rasterized layer. This is a smart object, so we need to rasterize it that way, and it will make this particular layer destructive. So I'm not going to do that. So whenever you want to remove a background or you want to brush something, don't brush on the main image, brush on the mask. Okay, if you want to create a brush, you can create new layer. So this is how you can create a new layer in Photoshop, by pressing on this particular simple here, and it will create a new layer above this. So when I brush this, currently our color is black. So if I brush this, you see we have the brush black color here. And note, this black color doesn't affect this. This is a different layer on its own. It doesn't affect this particular layer. So we can hide that one. You can just turn it on, hide this, and you see they are different thing altogether. So this is just above this. Okay, so that is the brush tool for you. And the next thing we are going to talk about is the spots healing brush. So I have this particular image right here. So we just want to remove some spots. I'll just zoom in and you can see we have some spots on the face. There are so many ways to do this, so we call it retouching in Photoshop. So I've made some videos on how you can do perfect retouch. If you want to retouch this particular image, I bet you don't need to go straight and pick the retouching. We have the touch tool right here. We have the spot healing brush tool. We have the healing brush tool. So when you look at the spot healing brush tool, you don't need to go straight and then just brush over that. You just need to create a new layer first, then you sample all layers, then you can just click on this spot, go, and it's going to remove every spot there. Just look at it, it's going to remove every spot. Look at this, everything is gone now. Okay, everything is gone. Yes, so that is the spot healing brush. And whenever you create a new layer, it means this layer will be non-destructive. So when I hide this, everything will come back. When I show it, everything is gone now. Can you see the difference now? Apart from that, there is another wonderful tool here I want to talk about, the patch tool. You will use it more frequently. So this is the patch tool. So if you want to patch this, you can create a new layer and then use the patch tool. You just have to work on this particular image. So if you don't want it that way, what you can do, let's delete this healing brush, then delete that, then make a copy of this background shape so that it will be non-destructive. So I'll just make a copy of that one, then I'll go for the patch tool. So I'll just select this area because that is where the spot is. Okay, this spot, I want to remove this spot, so I'll select that area. Then what I'm going to do right now is I will drag to the closest skin tone. Okay, so you don't need to select everything like that and then drag this one to all to this place. You see the color doesn't match, so you just have to drag to the nearest portion of it. and Photoshop is going to work it out, and everything is gone. Now look at before, after. So that's the patch tool. It can do a lot of things apart from this. As the name suggests, patch. So you can patch anything you want to do. Okay. The next tool I would like to talk about here is the clone stamp tool. So this is the clone stamp tool. Very easy and very simple and very powerful. So with the clone stamp tool, you can just press on letter S, okay, S as in stamp, okay. So you just press on stamp, this one, and you have this clone stamp tool. So if you want to make a copy of this light here, what you need to do is hold the Alt key to sample the region, then bring it to where you want to do that. So you can increase the size of the stamp by pressing the square brackets close, okay, and it will increase the size for you. And from here I can decide to place my light here, and then you see it is just making a copy of this. So this is Photoshop for you, and we have another copy, so you can create as many copies as you want. So that's the cross stamp tool. I've made a lot of shorts on this. You can take from my short. There are a lot of tricks about the cross stamp tool, and watch those videos, okay. The next tool we will talk about is the eraser tool. Now, going back to our main work, this is what we have. So, if you want to deal with the eraser tool, I will select this black layer, not this. Okay, then you press letter E to have the eraser. So, this is the eraser tool, and now I can increase the size, and then I'll clean this portion, and everything is off. Okay, I can increase the size here, and you see I'm taking everything on this. Even if I come here, it's not going to clean the face because I'm not working on that layer. Okay, that's another powerful thing about Photoshop. So I will just be working on the selected layer, and we have this. Everything is going. Boom, we are done with that. So that is another function of the eraser tool. It has a lot of functions it can perform. It can remove the background. It can do a whole lot of things, and we shall look at that in our coming videos. That's why you need to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss Photoshop 23 training course. Okay, now we have the next tool, which is the gradient tool. Now look at this particular design here. Let's delete the layer that we created. Now select the background layer, and then click on to add a layer below the image. So we want to create a gradient for this. If you want to create a gradient, you just have to come to this side and select the gradient. The keyboard shortcut for gradient tool is letter G. So with here, you just double click on this to select your color. So you can choose any color you want. So we have groups of color here. You can choose any of them. Okay. So for this particular tutorials, I'm going to choose this particular blue color here. Then I'll click on OK. So from here, I can choose how I want my gradient to be, whether gradient, whether linear. So by default, it is linear. So I'll choose the linear gradient. I'll uncheck the reverse. Then I'm going to create something like this. And see, we have this nice gradient right here. How do you see it? Very nice. You get it. You can also decide to move to this side, and the blue will come here, and the cyan will come to the right side. So that is how you can add gradient in Photoshop right now. So the next thing we will talk about here is the blending mode in Photoshop. Blending mode is very important in Photoshop. As you can see with this particular image, I can add a lens flare to it. So I will select this particular layer, then I'll go through my images. I have this lens flare here. I will just drag this. Okay, if you are asking how did I get the lens flare, you can just go to online. You can go to Google and then search for lens flare, go to images, and you see a lot of lens flares there. So I'll just drag this right here and place it here. Okay, so I'll hit enter, and now look at what is going to happen. So right now what is going to happen is, if I change the blending mode for this here, so these are blending modes. Okay, all this group will hide the whites, all this group will hide all the blacks. Okay, so if you want to blend this particular lens flare with this image, you don't need to go for this particular group because it is going to hide the white in that particular image, but ideally we want to hide the blacks. Okay, so I'll come to this particular group and I'll select the screen or the lighting. Any of this can work depending on what you want, so can go for this screen. Then I'll go for my move tool and I'll position it right here and increase the size. And now you can see I have added a lens flare to my image. That is how you can add a lens flare like this to your image. So that is the blending mode of this. You can play with other blending options here. We have a lot of them. You can play with them. Okay, now let us look at the adjustment layer. Adjustment layer is very easy. You can add adjustment layer by coming to adjustment, but we are not going to do it that way. You just come to this side and then right click on this and go for any of the adjustment that we want. So particularly I have this example right here. So as you can see, we have this particular image. I'm going to add an adjustment layer. So I'll just come here and these are the adjustments that we have. We have the vibrance, hue, color, black and white, photo channel. All these are from here down. All these are adjustments. I mean everything here is an adjustment. Just a layer. It's just a layer. Okay, it's just a layer above your image. So from here, what we are going to do right now is we are going to add hue and saturation to this particular image. What is hue? Hue can also mean color. Okay, saturation is the intensity of the color. So from here, if we want to change the hue, I mean the color of this particular, should I call it water here, you just need to click on this to sample this particular reading. And when I drag this down, you can see it has selected the range of colors here. So you can see this particular color is made up of cyan, blues, and then grains here. That is what the color is made up of. So from here, I can change the color nature of that. So you can see Photoshop detected that our color selected is cyan, and we can change the color to any color that we want. So look at what is happening there. You can change it to any color that we want. And if we want to decrease the intensity of the color, we can decrease the saturation, we can increase the saturation of it. So that is the adjustment layer. So when you come here, look at, you see we have this layer here. So that layer is the adjustment layer. It doesn't totally affect this. There is another way you can add adjustment that will affect your image. Let's look at that one. You just need to go to image, go to adjustment, and then go to black and white. This one is going to affect the whole of your image and you can't do anything to it. So this one has affected your image extractively and we don't want it that way. So if I want to add black and white to this, I'll just click on this and look for black and white, and this is the perfect way we can add black and white, okay, to our image. So with this one, I can just turn it off, I can just turn it on. That's the adjustment layer. So let us look at another thing we can do in Photoshop here. So as you can see, we have this particular image here. We can add another tool here, and that tool is the text tool. Okay, so this is the text tool. Now when you come here, it is one of the most common tools used in Photoshop. So I can just add some text to this. So we have this here. I will select everything, then I can come to the swatches and then change the color to white. Okay, from here I can increase the size right here to something like 48. Okay, then I will have something like this. So I've added my text. That is one particular tool you can use in Photoshop. Okay, I will almost skip some of the common tools. Okay, so I'm just trying to go back because there's nothing wrong with going back when you are teaching. Okay, I think it is very necessary for you to know this tool. So the test tool is right here. I can drag it below this particular image here, and then I can also add a shape tool, and that is this one, the rectangle tool. So I can just set the color for my rectangle like um this, then I can draw my rectangle right here. So you see I have my rectangle right there. Now what I can do right here is I can also go for the pen tool to control how the rectangle has been positioned. So when I come here, I can just go to curvature tool to create a curve. So when I click on this curvature tool, okay, and then when I come back here, okay, look at what is going to happen. I can just click here and drag this one like this, and then drag this one like this, and drag this one like this. So as you can see, I've created something simple right here with the shape tool and then the pen tool. Very easy to do that. Okay, so that is that about the tools. And then we have also spoken about the adjustment tool. Now let us look at blending options. So with this one, blending option, if you are using um Adobe Premiere or Adobe After Effects or stuff, you can see the blending options. I call it the effects. Okay, the effects. So these are effects we are going to add to our text, our image, our everything on the layer. You can apply these blending options to it. So let us look at the text, for instance. Okay, when I right click on this, I can choose the blending option. If I don't want to do that, I can just come here and then click on this FX here, which is the effect, and choose this blending options right here. So the blending option dialog is going to pop up here, so that our modification right here. And look at this is what we have. So with this blending options, you can add bevels to it, and look at how the text look at before and then after. Just look at the text very well before, after. So that is it. You can add bevels, you can also add strokes. Okay, you can also adjust the stroke by just double clicking on the stroke, and you can reduce the size. This one is inside, so we can change to outside to have that outside stroke here. We can also add a lot of them right here. Okay, I've made video on this, okay, on this blending options, so you can check in my videos and watch that one. I've taken my time to explain them well. So we can also add a drop shadow right here by clicking on this, and we can control the shadows by dragging it downwards like this, the angle of the shadows, so that we can have something like this. And we have something like this here, control the opacity of the shadows, something like this. So that is the blending option aspect of this. Now after you are done with everything you want to do in Photoshop, one thing you want to do is you want to export your work. Okay, there are so many ways of doing this. You can export it maybe layers by layers. You can export it as PDF, you can export it as PNG or as JPEG. Whatever that you want to do is possible in Photoshop right here. So for me, what I'm going to do right now here is I'm going to show you how you can save this particular image or export this particular image. You just need to go to file and then look for export here. So we have export here, and you will click on export as. So just wait, and you will have the dialog for you to export it. Okay, so this is the dialog that we have. So you can export this as PNG or JPEG or GIF. So I'll export this as JPEG. Then I'll just click on export, and everything will be done. I've also made video on the differences between JPEG, PNG in terms of exporting them. What does it mean? The difference between save as and export as. You can check in my videos and watch that one as well. So I'll just click on export, then our image will be saved as a picture. Okay, our work, our document will be saved as a picture. So I will select the location, then I'll click on save. So this is everything you have, the basic you have to know about Photoshop 23. I hope this will help you in your journey of learning Photoshop. If you have really enjoyed this particular tutorials, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that you will not miss our upcoming videos. My name is Felix Bliss. I thank you for staying with me. Makamina. Bye bye.